talking about immigration and the broader context and the global implication of immigration. There's actually a lot to get to on that topic. And speaking of immigration, there was a bunch of celebs that left the country when President Trump took office. Interestingly enough, some of them want back. Who it is may shock you. And a heartfelt, good, warming American story. All that and more coming up on this episode of Turning Point Tonight. My name is Joe Bob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Together, we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. This is Turning Point Tonight. Before we get to any of that, email is tpt@tpusa.com. As always, send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Our mailbag segment is in the last segment of the day. If you'd like your email read, make sure it is disgusting, vile, bigoted, whatever. The worse the email is, the more likelihood you have a chance of actually reading it on the show. But mailbag is in our fifth segment, so tpt@tpusa.com if you'd like to have the opportunity to be mentioned in this, and especially, too, if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, or any of the stories that we're talking about, would really appreciate your thoughts. tpt@tpusa.com. Also, go subscribe to our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds, by the way. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, Instagram, all of the social media platforms. The hack is just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find us pretty much anywhere. Joe Bob is a very weird name. Objectively, I agree with you. And it actually is somewhat advantageous when you're looking to find something quickly. Just type in JOBOB. The first thing that we need to talk about is something that pretty much everybody is talking about, but there is another story in relation to the immigration story in the United States that I feel like nobody is talking about, and everyone also should be. But first, let's get to what's going on in the United States of America. Yesterday, the Trump administration froze immigration applications from countries they deemed a national security risk, to which I and you and probably everyone went, wait, why was that not happening already? You're telling me that people who came from countries that did pose a national security risk were just allowed to come into the country? Why was that a thing? Thankfully, though, President Trump has decided to shore that up, and probably one of the more normal moves of course you would do that, that pretty much any president has done as of late. The administration halted applications from 19 countries, but sources say that list could expand to up to 30 countries. The 19 countries, there's a bunch of them listed. We don't need to go through all of them. Kind of your usual suspects: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Cuba, the Congo, Eritrea, Iran, all of these places. Somalia is on this list, by the way, and we'll get to Somalia in a second, but there's a lot to talk about pre-Somalia. Eritrea, by the way, if you don't know what Eritrea is, go do a deep dive on what is going on in that godforsaken African country hellhole. They have a full-blown dictator. Men are mandated to join the military. I think it's for like a 2-year period, but the majority of them actually end up being required to serve for like 40 years. I kid you not. Eritrea is an insane place. The fact that they weren't on a list already, it honestly is kind of concerning, but that goes back administration after administration after administration. Beyond those 19 countries, the USCIS also announced that it's going to hold all pending asylum applications regardless of the applicant's country of nationality. Again, good. Until we figure this out, we need to figure out how to pause all of these systems so that people don't get let into the country on asylum cases by some activist judge. We did a big story yesterday about how some immigration judge who got fired is suing the Trump administration. Trump responded by firing 8 more of them, which is great. It is a problem that needs to get fixed. There do need to be more judges to oversee and hopefully deny all of these claims, asylum claims. But again, it's a process, and it's going to take the Trump administration a little while to work out through that entire process. The policy all targets individuals from high-risk countries who, again, why were we not doing this in the first place, who entered the United States on or after January 20th, 2021, requiring comprehensive re-review, potential interviews, and re-interviews, to which I and everybody on the side of sanity says freaking yes. The State Department also paused visas issued for individuals traveling on Afghan passports. Now, just some context here. The Trump administration has issued these types of bans before. In June, following that anti Semitic firebombing attack in Colorado, the Trump administration put 12 countries on the list because the guy who carried out that attack was allegedly an Egyptian national who was traveling on an expired U.S. tourist visa. So this is not new necessarily for the Trump administration, but it is expanding and it is good. The June order was on 12 countries. It is now up to 19, and Homeland Security Kristi Noem announced that she is proposing to expand those countries on the restricted list to like 30, which again would be good. And by the way, there's like 188 recognized sovereign nations. The fact that we're not allowing 30 in, I think those are rookie numbers. I feel like we can get those numbers up quite a bit. Here's the story that, interestingly enough, I found in the New York Times, because remember, I read the New York Times in part to punish myself for my sins, but I also would like to be a liaison between the crazy lib media and all of you fine folks. Be maybe a buffer or maybe a translator. Excuse me. What I thought was fascinating about this article is the expultation of many Afghans, not from the United States, but from Pakistan. Pakistan has hosted Afghan refugees since the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. They then, at the time, Pakistan welcomed these Afghan refugees as holy warriors and Islamic brethren. Currently, there are about 3 million Afghans living in Pakistan. However, about 1 million Afghans have been deported or forced to return home to Afghanistan this year alone. Of course, the mainstream media is meeting this with calls for, a change of regime and an overthrow. It's racism. Oh, sorry, wait, no, they're not, because that for some reason only happens in the United States of America. When we want to deport Afghan nationals, or really nationals to any country from a third world country that refuses to adapt to the culture, learn the language, adapt to the customs of this country, it's for some reason just the worst possible thing to have happen. However, when a Middle Eastern country, in this case Pakistan, says, hey, a bunch of these Afghans need to go home, nobody talks about it. Except for, interestingly enough, the New York Times. But I'm not entirely sure. A bunch of conservative commentators have been commenting on this, even though I think it bolsters our argument substantially. Pakistan has vowed to expel all Afghans regardless of immigration status or their danger that they may face upon return to their home country. Authorities have refused to renew visas even for Afghans who have lived in Pakistan their entire life, including children that are born there, which by all metrics actually is pretty dang extreme. Here in the United States, we adjust for culture pretty much only. Don't care what race you are. It's, do you want to assimilate to the free way of living here in the United States of America? Do you want to learn the customs? Do you want to adapt to the culture here in America? And if not, bye-bye. In this particular case, it seems to be entirely based on race, to which the mainstream media should be, if they were being at all fair, calling racism on Pakistan. But again, it doesn't appear that most people are actually talking about this. Pakistani authorities arrested 12 times as many Afghans this year as compared to last year, and that is just a way of saying they are ramping this up by a lot. Pakistan is not messing around when it comes to deporting Afghans back to Afghanistan. And guess what? They're not the only ones. Even in that Middle Eastern region, Iran has deported or forced out more than 1.5 million Afghans just this year alone. But do you hear any calls of complaints from anybody else? No, it's only a problem when we, the United States, do it. If other countries want people who are from third world countries and don't adapt to the culture and assimilate to the standards of that particular country, and I'm not even saying that Pakistan or Iran have good culture. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that when people come to the country and refuse to adapt, other countries want them out. So should we. This is not a contentious side to take. Between Pakistan and Iran, since 2023, a combined 4.5 million Afghans have been expelled or forcibly returned to their home country, with more than half, 2.5 million, this year alone. If other countries are allowed to protect their culture and their way of life by deporting people who refuse to assimilate, why can't we? And also, why is nobody else talking about this? I feel like this bolsters our argument a ton. And, I think we've probably alluded to it at this point, but the main question is, well, why? Why are the Pakistanis and the Iranians doing this? Among other countries in the Middle East that, are much less scale, but those two in particular. Well, Pakistani officials now argue that all Afghans face a national security threat to their country. An Afghan attacker was behind a courthouse bombing in Islamabad about a month ago that killed 12 people. A suicide attack in another city killed 3 paramilitary officers and wounded 11 more. That was blamed on the Pakistani Afghani Taliban, so the Afghan Taliban that's in Pakistan. And on top of that, authorities in Pakistan have encouraged citizens through a whistleblower system to help them deport Afghans en masse. So again, the question remains, why is it only bad when we do it? The answer is, well, it's actually not. In the context of the greater global situation, every country has the right to enforce their own immigration policies. But for some reason, anytime the United States says, hey, got a bunch of people coming from a foreign land who won't learn the language, won't assimilate to the culture, won't adapt to American customs, don't believe in the founding of America. If you want to deport those people, that's bad. That shame on you. We got a lot to get to in regards to this. I want to play President Trump's, in my opinion, one of his best rants, specifically targeting Somalia. We want to zero in on that in the next segment as we've kind of laid out the context of, hey, this happens all over the world. Why are we not allowed to do it here? So that is coming up after the break. Also, celebs who fled the United States during President Trump's re-inauguration for being the 47th president of the United States want to come back, which is not shocking to anyone. I think, hold on. Oh, here's a hot take. Maybe we should not allow those people to immigrate back into the country too. Find out who that main celeb is that is saying, I want to come back to California. And then also we've got a very, very feel-good story. We're a lot of doom and gloom right now, but we will get to some lighter-hearted and heartwarming story to come up later on in the show. tpt@tpusa.com is the email if you'd like to send us your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Turning Point Tonight on YouTube, growing by leaps and bounds. We also do an extra segment of the show each and every day that just doesn't, there's not enough time here on Real America's Voice with you fine people, so you got to go to our social media accounts to check that out. The hack is, Joe Bob is objectively a weird name, but just type in J-O-B-O-B, pretty much any social media platform. You'll be able to find all of the Turning Point Tonight online content. President Trump's most hilarious rant that the media is just saying this is the worst thing ever that he gave yesterday in the cabinet meeting, coming up right after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you an illegal alien in the United States? Are you looking for the perfect holiday gift for your family? Then DHS has the best holiday deal of your life. It's the CBP Home app. It's free. It's fast. Just download the CBP Home app and fill out your information. We'll take care of your travel arrangements, and once you're home, you'll receive a $1,000 stipend. So don't delay. Join the 2 million illegal aliens who have already left. Download the CBP Home app today and get home for the holidays.
I love that. That's DHS puts out these hilarious internet videos that, I don't need to explain to you. That's kind of in the style of like a 1990s, 1980s home video commercial. Are you tired of living in a place that isn't your home? Go home. We'll even pay for it and give you $1,000 to go home. I like that DHS putting that out there just in time for the holiday. Go spend the holidays with your family somewhere else. Thank you, DHS. Getting back to the topic of the day, the big topic here. President Trump yesterday had a cabinet meeting. Bunch of noise has been made about that, most specifically because of this hilarious rant. This is rather long, but I do want to play it for you in its entirety. President Trump, we've already zoomed out. We've got the global prospect of people being kicked out of countries because they're not assimilating to the culture. That's a standard thing that happens in every single country. But more specifically, the United States is taking a look at the thing that we've been looking at for the last couple weeks here. What is going on with all of these Somali refugees? We'll kick that off with President Trump's, in my opinion, one of his most hilarious rants. Watch this cut 6.
But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
Dare he say an S-hole country? Is that a term that has been thrown around here and there? If any country deserves that moniker, it seems to be Somalia. A couple stats about Somalia. Somalia is one of the poorest countries in the world. GDP per capita is about $592, ranking the 4th poorest country on planet Earth globally. There is extreme poverty. 71% of the population lives on less than $2.15 a day. That's according to the World Bank. Life expectancy is 55 to 57 years old, which is the lowest in the world. Infant mortality rate is terrible. They've also, and now these are just statistics, right? These are just kind of stating the facts and stating the obvious. Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization, Somalia ranked number 2 in 2024 on the Global Terrorism Index, only behind Burkina Faso. Al-Shabaab carried out 1,300, almost 1,400 attacks in 2023, killing roughly around 4,000 people. And also, piracy is facing a resurgence in 2024. We all remember the movie Captain Phillips, where people, the Captain Phillips movie, I am the captain now. Everybody was like, oh, look at this great actor. Guy who was driving a cab, then auditioned for the movie, turned out to, I guess, be good at being Somali. I don't know. They're like, oh, he was an incredible actor. Now he's just reverting back to his former self, probably in his native homeland. So there's that. Bottom line here, Somalia is not known for being super awesome. Remember we did that story, what was that, last week, where CNN was like, why is Somalia have a explosion in tourism? Well, probably a lot of people, most specifically from the Minnesota area, going back home to visit. Now, in the context of security, Somalia is ranked dead last on the 2024 corruption perceptions. That is according to Transparency International. Very, very fragile state there. The government can be toppled pretty much at any second, and is looking to be toppled by Al-Shabaab, the terrorist group, and many other very violent warring factions. So I understand why people would want to leave Somalia. The question is not why they would want to leave. The question is, why would we want them here? This has nothing to do with their race and everything to do with the culture that allowed a country to be ranked dead last in corruption, have exploding terrorism and piracy, and have terrible outcomes for their people. Honestly, you could make the case that people coming from these countries are probably on the upper end of people. The people that have figured out how to get out of that country and fake the refugee system or the asylum system, those are the types of people that should probably stay there to help make that country better. That is a bigger conversation for a different time, and honestly, might not even be possible in this particular situation. The Somali immigrants, not only to the United States, but from around the world, have extremely high rates of government dependence. In Norway in 2023, somali of Somali-born households relied mainly on social assistance. In Sweden in 2022, 64% of Somali-born adults were neither employed nor in education, those ages from 20 to 64. In Denmark in 2023, 69% of Somali immigrants and descendants were on public benefits. On top of that, there's a huge overrepresentation from people of this culture, not of the race, because nobody cares about your skin color. They care about the cultural background that you have and whether or not you're going to bring that culture to the place that has a better culture and try to continue the same culture. Nobody wants that. There's an overrepresentation in crime in multiple Western countries. Sweden, according to a 2023 government reports, individuals with Somali backgrounds were 8 to 10 times overrepresented in violent crimes and gang-related crimes, according to statistics there. In Minnesota, Somali youth who make up 1 to 2% of Minneapolis's population accounted for 20 to 25% of juvenile violent crime and arrests. In Finland, foreigners from Somalia had the highest suspected crime rate per capita of any nationality, roughly 10 times the native-born rate. What we're trying to get at here is this. Nobody cares about your skin color. Nobody cares about what you look like. Everybody in the United States of America who agrees with the founding, who agrees with the principles and the cultures and the systems of this country should be scared when people with other cultural backgrounds who refuse to let those cultural backgrounds go and refuse to assimilate to the culture come into that country. Why on earth did all of these Somalis end up in Minnesota? Nobody really knows. Now, I want to play this cut from Kristi Noem yesterday that kind of highlights some of the big problems that are going on in Minnesota, especially when it comes to how people from Somalia have immigrated into the United States. Again, culturally speaking, nothing to do with race. I'm just going to keep reiterating that because I feel like Midas Touch or Media Matters is going to clip this up and be like, look, this is racist. Nope, nothing to do with race. And actually, we're going to kind of diminish that point even further after this. But I want to play you Kristi Noem yesterday in that cabinet meeting, cut 7.
You told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's bold, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money.
Yeah, 50% of those claims turned out to be fraudulent. Again, this is on top of the almost $1 billion stolen from Minnesota taxpayers that we've been talking about for days, weeks even, on this show. The problem is the culture. If you come to the country, the United States of America, and refuse to adapt to the culture, we do not want you here. And especially when it comes to new people coming from different countries, maybe we should open our doors more, if at all. And I'm not even convinced we need to open the doors really at all at this point. But if we're going to, maybe let's try to attract people from, I don't know, countries that kind of share similar cultural values, not even necessarily all of the American values, because those can be learned and be assimilated too. But maybe there's 188 sovereign countries in the world. Maybe we don't have to accept everybody with equal amounts of ability to come in the country. Maybe we should look at countries that are more in line, not entirely 100%, or else they would be America, but very, very much more in line with the cultures of the United States of America, which brings me to this. Like I said, this has nothing to do with race and everything to do with values. And somebody coming from a country that has more upstanding, Christ-like values is probably more likely to be able to assimilate to the country regardless of the race. Nobody cares about your race. Because I would like to bring up this example. My dad immigrated here from Samoa. Well, what is that country like? Do they have terrorism? Do they have extremism? Are they pirates in the South Pacific Ocean? Well, not really. Actually, the country of Samoa is recognized as a Christian nation. It is in their constitution. The entire country has been practically Christian for 195 years, since 1830. Over 98% of the country is entirely Christian, and it was officially declared a Christian nation in 2017 in the Constitution. The preamble from 1962 says the state of Samoa, the country of Samoa, was founded based on Christian principles and a Samoan custom and tradition, and invokes the Holy Trinity. Article 1, added in 2017, says this: Samoa is a Christian nation founded on God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. What does that look like in cultural terms? Sunday, strictly observed. By the way, I've been here. I've witnessed this. And at the time, I didn't really know what to think. I'd never been to an entirely Christian country that was mandated by the government. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I like this. But turns out, well, actually, it was pretty good. Sunday's pretty much strictly observed as a day of worship. Most of these shops and restaurants are closed. All sporting events are banned on Sundays, which, honest to God, as a person visiting, was kind of a problem. Couldn't find a restaurant to go eat at. Now, that's a good thing culturally, but again, kind of difficult for us when we were there. Christian holidays are all national holidays. Churches play major roles in villages and national life. Religious instruction is common in all of the Samoan government schools. And there is almost effectively no recorded persecution of Christians in Samoa really at all. And how does that correlate to the culture of, again, countries that more align with American values as opposed to places like Somalia? And again, I'm only doing this not specifically to promote Samoa, but to say, hey, this has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. Well, the Samoan homicide rate as of 2024 is 6.7 times less high, so lower than that of Chicago. The St. Louis homicide rate is 15 times higher than the country of Samoa. Baltimore, 10.7 times. New Orleans, 10 times. Detroit, 10 times. Memphis, 12 times. Philadelphia, 6 times the homicide rate in those U.S. cities who, could use a little bit of a cultural adjustment than this other foreign country that is, in fact, a Christian nation. And again, I don't want to belabor the fact or make, a broader case of specifically Samoans, because I, have some pretty strong ties to that island nation. Again, my dad being from there. What I'm trying to say is this: if we have the entire planet wanting to come to the United States, one, you still have to convince me that we should let anybody in at this point in time, right? I think we should probably figure out how to incentivize the birth rate among people that are already here and people that are bonded to the founding, that agree with the culture, customs, and language of the United States. But if we are going to accept immigrants from places, maybe we should make sure they are immigrants coming from places that more align with American values and not places that are third world hellholes in which nobody has any cultural relevance to the United States and refuses to adapt to the culture that we have fostered here in the United States and that built the greatest country the world has ever seen. A lot to get to as far as immigration here, but I feel like I hope a lot of that was decent and good information. tpt@tpusa.com is the email if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, even criticisms. You could be a person that's like, hey, close all the doors. Let's stop immigration for a while and let's try to incentivize Americans having children. I can see that side of the argument, and I'm most of the way there. But even if we're going to accept anybody, let's try and make it from countries that more align with the American values and the cultures that we have here in this country. Coming up, a bunch of celebrities made headlines when they left the United States because it's so terrible under Donald Trump. Well, turns out it's not that terrible. Then some of them are wanting to come back. That hilarious story coming up next. Also, a heartwarming, feel-good story just in time for the holiday season that you're not going to want to miss. As well as mailbag, tpt@tpusa.com. If you want the chance to be included in mailbag, remember, if your email is disgusting, horrible, hateful, and bigoted, chances are we'll read it on this show. we like doing that sort of thing. tpt@tpusa.com is the email address. Or if you'd like to flatter me with some, sort of praise, that's always welcome too. Or, criticism too. We're not libs. We don't cancel those ideas. tpt@tpusa.com. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Get nervous around woke people, which is weird because I look like their leader, you know, like. And I try to be aware, but I'm a hustler. Like, when people ask me my pronouns, this is what I've been saying. I've been going, oh, well, if it's time to get paid, he, him. If it's time to pay, she, her. And if it's time to apply for a grant, they, them, Native American. It is what it is. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm trying it out.
I love that. It's a good way of the best way to change people's minds is through the mockery of their own ideas. And the people that are super fervent on that, they're not going to budge. They're a lost cause. But the people that are kind of like wishy-washy, they're like, oh, I don't really know. I kind of just follow the trends. I got pronouns in my Instagram bio, or I put a black square on Instagram, or I've got it in my email signature. All of those people, the majority of them, I think, can be convinced. And that's the way you convince them. You just mock them with nonsense. Hey, hey, I'm going to choose my pronouns based on what's going to be most advantageous for me at the time. And if it's a job application, yes, they, them, Native American. Now, thankfully, that's going away in this country because I think we've won that war, hopefully, that rhetorical, ideological war. Obviously not the physical one. Nobody's talking about violence here. But I think ultimately that's the direction we should all go. Just mockery of terrible lib ideas, which we do a lot of on this show. But recently, there's been a lot of serious things that we have to talk about and discuss. So anyways, fun times. Speaking of people who we should mock, and there's a reason that we put that clip where it was in the order of the show, is this: many celebrities had to flee the United States when Donald Trump was elected again in 2024. They said, oh my gosh, this country is no longer safe. Many of them called this a fascist dictatorship, and they could not exist in a country that was run by Donald Trump. Unless it gets cold. Then, it's fine. Because that seems to be the case for one Ellen DeGeneres. You probably recall this. Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, Portia de Rossi, fled to the UK, the United Kingdom. They sold a lot of their California property. They said, we are done. The United States is no longer safe for people like me. And therefore, we have to go to the United Kingdom, which has increasingly become a caliphate of its own and practicing Sharia law. So I think they're probably actually less safe there in reality. I'm just saying. But that was the case in January of this last year. Ellen DeGeneres broke American hearts by saying, we're out, we're done, along with Rosie O'Donnell, Eva Longoria, a bunch of them. We'll get to them in a little bit. But she said, we are out. Now, despite the stated intentions, Ellen DeGeneres is actually looking to move back to California. I guess the dictatorship that is in the White House was just so bad that you had to leave, unless a couple things happened to take place, like I don't know, the weather. They say, Ellen and Portia say, they miss their friends and can't take the winters. They plan to be back in California for the holidays and longer, by the sound of it. So, in other words, Donald Trump, the dictator in the White House, is so awful and bad, we cannot stand to live in this country unless it gets cold, because that is the deciding factor on whether or not we are going to stand up to fascism. I hate fascist dictatorships. Now, just for the record, I don't believe Ellen specifically said Donald Trump is a fascist or a dictator. She just made a whole bunch of hullabaloo about gay marriage and all that sort of stuff. Said she doesn't feel like this country represents her. Again, unless it gets cold, in which case, my morals are out the window. That seems like a pretty low bar, because I don't know if you know this, at the current moment, and this is fleeting by the second, the UK is a first world country. They do have heaters there. It's like a thing that they have. You can stay warm by staying inside, unless, of course, your ideas and your values are not, you're not super beholden to them. Ellen did sell her Montecito, California home for $30 million. Another property was just listed in the United States for $5 million. They even sold, they settled in the UK, but then sold their 22 million pound home and moved from there. So I think they're just all over the place. The bottom line is this: a bunch of the people that moved out of the country or said, we cannot deal with the United States of America. A lot of them are coming back. Ellen DeGeneres is one of them. Rosie O'Donnell is another one. Now, she said she's not coming back, so that I'm not going to throw her into that category. But several other people. Sophie Turner of Game of Thrones fame and other movies, if you don't know who she is, she actually is a Brit, but she said, I will not go to the United States of America unless I have work, in which case I'll be there. I'll be back and forth. So it's super bad, and I can't stand for this. But, you know, I also got to get a paycheck. So, okay, good. Great moral values there. Minnie Driver left the United States for the UK and also comes back for work frequently. Lena Dunham also went to the UK and says, well, she returns for professional reasons. So, again, your career trumps your, pun intended, your fight against the fascist dictatorship. Courtney Love also moved to the UK, but visits routinely to come on tour. So we're okay with her taking American dollars and bringing them abroad. But, you know, just, again, those moral values, not so strong to begin with. Eva Longoria went to Spain and Mexico, called the U.S. dystopian, relocated her entire family, but, again, comes back to the United States as a part-time U.S. resident. Travels frequently for projects. Richard Greer, also one who moved to Spain. Here's the bottom line, and here's what I think we should be doing and calling for as a people, as a conservative movement, and as people who, you know, want to be consistent on our immigration values. Don't let them back in. How about that? President Trump has already threatened to revoke the citizenship of Rosie O'Donnell. And this can be a broader conversation, a broader discussion, which we will get to eventually. We mentioned yesterday, Senator Bernie Moreno is talking about introducing legislation that would eliminate dual citizenship, which is the right thing to do, by the way. If the United States is a collection of ideas delineated by geography, what it is first is a collection of ideas. The American experiment is what being an American is. And if your allegiance is also to another place that doesn't have the ideals and values of the United States, well, you can't be both. Like, you can't support two NFL teams that compete against each other. You can't be a 49ers fan and a Seahawks fan. You can't be a Boston Red Sox fan and a Yankees fan. You just can't do those two things. Again, longer conversation for a different time, but I stand firmly on this. All of the people that left the United States, if they want to come back, the answer is no. Bye-bye, adios, sayonara, whatever other languages they speak in those other countries. You can't come. See you later. Good luck with life somewhere else. Coming up next, speaking of people who are coming into the country and leeching off the system, this is not one of those cases. This actually is a heartwarming, fantastic story. My wife and I were watching this video that I'm going to show you. It's a little bit long and almost moved to tears last night. So we will bring that to you and kind of round out the show on a more positive note. Don't go away. We'll be right back after the break. TPT at tpusa.com. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, so if you're a conservative man and my profile says liberal, I don't think you understand. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to talk to me. I hate you.
Okay. She's right. I don't want to talk to her at all. Unless I'm ordering at Starbucks, in which case I do think we do have to have a brief interaction. Mostly because I like the light ice. A lot of times when you go to coffee shops, when you get an iced coffee, they overload it with ice. So the brief interaction that we would have is, can I get light ice on that? And I want to do whole milk because almond milk makes my throat kind of scratchy. But other than that, she's absolutely right. I don't really want to talk to her. Actually, that would be fun. It would be very fun to have a very long conversation with the type of person, just to see if they are attached to the same reality that I am. My guess would be no. As I mentioned, I want to play this clip. This is a heartwarming story that I loved. Especially in light of all of the fraud going on by a bunch of those Somalis that stole $1 billion from Minnesota taxpayers. This guy is not stealing money from taxpayers. This is rather long. It's about 2 minutes, but it is a heartwarming, just feel-good story, even beyond what the video says. We'll bring you the update post this video, which is only 2 days old, that will make you, I don't know, restore some hope that you might have in humanity. Play this cut 8.
Just seeing if I could have help scanning this. Thank you. What was your name?
Ed.
I'm Sam.
Okay.
I actually had someone nominate you from this store and said you're very hardworking.
Well, I try to be.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 88.
And still working?
Yes, I have to.
Why do you have to keep working?
Retired from General Motors in 99. 2012, I went bankrupt and they took my pension away from me.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a wife?
She passed away 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
She was sick when I lost my pension.
So you've been struggling a bit?
A little bit.
You said that you lost your pension?
Yes, sir, I did. I was in the Army back in 66.
So you're a veteran too?
Yes. The thing that hurt me the most was my wife was real sick. And they, when they took the pension, they also took the health care coverage.
Yeah.
And all but $10,000 of my life insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So I sold the house, sold the property I had, and we made it through. My wife died 7 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to reestablish myself.
And you're working here how many days a week?
I work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
And you do that because you have to, or?
Yeah, I don't have enough income
What's your dream?
to live somewhat the life I was hoping for.
I'd like to share your story and try and, get people to help you retire.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. You're amazing. I want to give you $400 here as a tip. Of course. You're amazing,
Thank you.
man. Of course.
I don't know what to say. It goes a long way to help me.
Give you a hug?
Yeah, thank you.
In the world of people milking the system, in the world of people clamoring for benefits who have no business getting our tax dollars, that guy is someone who probably could and isn't. That is the American spirit hard at work. And because the United States of America is a generous and kind nation, there's a GoFundMe that has been set up for that guy. And here's the heartwarming part of it. It has raised $1.3 million for this 88-year-old Army veteran, Ed Bombas, to be able to retire. I don't know of a better, more heartwarming, more good-hearted American story than that. And those exist on a bunch of different levels. But that is the country that we live in. One, an individual says, this is my responsibility. This happened to me. I got a tough lot in life and things didn't go the way I wanted them to. They didn't exactly go to plan. But here I am continuing to soldier on, 88 years old, working 40 hours a week. And then the second, the American people getting together and going, you know what? Guy served our country. He's a hardworking, honest American citizen. Let's help him out. $1.3 million raised thus far to help Ed retire. If you'd like the link to that, send us an email, tpt@tpusa.com. That's the best way to get it to you. We'll send you that GoFundMe link to get. This is just a great story. tpt@tpusa.com. We'll forward along that link in case you'd like to also help Ed continue to live his life as best he can in retirement, again at 88 years old. Fantastic. We needed that. I needed that in the context of a bunch of freaking Somalis stealing money, among other people. Don't worry, they're not the only people that steal money from the government, but there's a lot out there, and I hate every second of it. And stuff like this is it's just nice to see. So tpt@tpusa.com if you'd like that link or have any thoughts, comments, concerns about that older gentleman. So tpt@tpusa.com is the email. Also go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do an extra segment of the show each and every day that can't, just because of time constraints, can't air here entirely on Real America's Voice. And a little bit more slices of life type of thing, but still interesting nonetheless. You can only get those on our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, Rumble, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find us pretty much anywhere. That is the hack. It is an odd name, but it is advantageous and helpful when it comes to finding stuff. Mailbag coming up next. TBT at tpusa.com if you'd like to be included. Don't go away. We'll be right back after the break.
I saw this white woman the other day with a shirt on, and on her shirt it said, "Keep the immigrants, deport the racists." And I was like, whoa, that's activism, you know? But here's the thing, as someone who was actually raised by immigrants, if you want to deport all the racists, you're going to be deporting a lot of immigrants too, yes. Right? You guys know, right?
That's so funny. You know, the United States, we're, for better or worse, a melting pot, but at the same time, we're very, very tolerant of other people's skin color. Go around the rest of the world, that is not the case. Go to, like, Japan, and they're the most racist people against Chinese people, and vice versa, by the way. Go to, like, Italy and say, hey, do you like people from Spain or Portugal? And they're like, no, I hate them. Just because of their race. You want to find racism, go to some of these other countries in the world. Here in the United States, it's all fake and not actually real. I want to get to some of the emails here because I think these are fun. On the topic of me being an immigration judge that we talked about yesterday, let's see, who is it? Angela from Southern Oregon said this: if Ketanji Brown Jackson can sit on the Supreme Court, me, can be an immigration judge. Love the show. Thank you, Angela. And by the way, I love the vote of confidence. I agree. If Ketanji Brown Jackson can be a Supreme Court justice, I think I can deny. I think I have the ability to deny people's asylum claims as an immigration judge. I didn't go to law school, but I feel like I could. I feel like I could do that. Paul says this regarding my outfit yesterday. TBT at tpusa.com. We welcome all of the emails. I was wearing a red shirt, and he said that's the proper Christmas cranberry red to wear during the holiday season. So we got some affirmation on the shade of red. Thank you, Paul. He says most people wear bright or primary red, which is a no-no. I agree. I didn't know that I agreed, but I freaking agree. And on the topic yesterday about why do we let poor people buy junk food with food stamps? Maybe we should just give them MREs. Mark says this: Patriot Supply. This is actually not a sponsor. Maybe we should get Patriot Supply to sponsor the show. Says has MREs, and if they would contract with the powers that be, that would boost Patriot Supply considerably. So yes, they should all be given MREs. Yeah, if the goal of food stamps and if the goal of government assistance is to make sure that you just have enough sustenance to be able to survive, and that's the only goal, then yeah, MREs work. That should be the way that we do all of that. We don't need to have, hey, go ahead and choose, Doritos or Slim Jims or whatever other ultra-processed food that San Francisco is suing people for. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the first segment of the show from yesterday. It's on the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel as well as Real America's Voices website. But yeah, you want to place blame. How about we first look at the government who is allowing people in a lot of blue states to go through a McDonald's drive-through on the American taxpayer dime. There's a couple of videos to get to, but we don't have time for it. But, I can't reiterate enough the last segment of the show. If you didn't catch the last segment, if you're just tuning in, go see it on our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel. But that is a heartfelt American story, and we want to see more of those. That is going to do it for us here on Turning Point Tonight. Really appreciate you tuning in. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. TBT at tpusa.com is the email address. Send us along your thoughts, comments, concerns, and criticisms. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless America. I hate when people take awesome houses and turn them into awful houses. What do I mean by that? We'll find out. It's one last point. Yesterday, we went and saw some Christmas lights with the kids, the wife, and a couple friends. Just walked some of the streets in this area in Southern California where a lot of like older, they're not old homes, they're not like historic homes, but they're like traditional Tudor style homes. They've got the wood that kind of outlines the house, the wood framing on the windows. They've got like the beveled glass in the windows, and it's just very traditional styles houses. They got bricks going up the side, wood panel, all just great, beautiful, awesome looking houses that kind of they resemble cottages. Very, very affluent area that this is very famous for their Christmas lights. But as we were walking around, we saw a couple things that were just like, this is so freaking infuriating. Because some of these houses, these people took the brick off the house, removed the dark color stained wood, took all of that framing off the house, and did what I talk about this so much that I don't know if this is a good thing to continue just belabor on, but the continued quest to make everything black and white or gray on housing. It blows my mind. I should have had a picture up. Go to my X account. I'll tweet a picture of this with my frustration. Of one of the houses, they literally stripped off brick and put like whitewashed stone, and then they took off the paneling and just painted the whole thing white. And it's like super modern. And I'm not even against modern styles. But what I am against is trying to take something that has a specific designated style and make it into something that it is not. Putting like these like small, thin LED light strips. And don't do that. I think you should be held criminally responsible and prosecuted by the law if you decide to ruin a house like that. That is, I think, specifically a my generation thing. I think, well, in a lot of ways, generation to generation just kind of ruin housing. Heck yeah, just killed a mosquito. Boom. Why are there still mosquitoes in December? I'm very proud of that. I'm very excited that it was caught on tape, but also digital recording. I'm very excited about that, but also why are there still mosquitoes in December? This is an affront to my American freedom. Mosquitoes should be dead, all of them, by like October 20th. They are in the rest of the country. I don't know why Southern California just continues to have mosquitoes. I think it's a government psyop somehow. Long living mosquitoes. Anyways, on top of that, don't ruin houses. There are so many. I've complained about this on so many episodes of this One Last Thing podcast, but like people just ruining that's what I was going at. Every generation feels like they need to ruin things. The house that we live in now is 110 years old, 115 years old. And some bozo in the 70s decided to paint the entire thing white. So we're like slowly trying to peel the paint off and expose the wood and make it beautiful again. They also like put carpet down over hardwood floors, which, by the way, there's something to be said about people that pull off wood paneling, that pull off brick and paint everything white. If you put carpet over beautiful hardwood floors, 20 years in federal prison, and going to Azkaban. I know that's not a real place, but that's how much I hate all of the new wave stuff that happens to, I don't know, all of this new housing. Glenn, I feel like, has some commentary here. Producer Glenn, your thoughts on ruining...
Well, I have a question, actually. I'm curious to know what you think, because I hear this and I don't live in...
TBT@TBC.com for any of your questions. We can get back to you after that. That's all for...
No, I was wondering what your thoughts are on this, because I live in an apartment. It's old, but like not old enough to be cool. It's just old. And I thought, wow, that sounds like stuff like your typical landlord would do, like it's just cheaper to maintain, hardwood floor. You have to take more care of it, throw a carpet on there. It's a lot easier just to vacuum, and it costs the landlord less to worry about keeping it up. I wonder, what do you think? Do you think that plays into it at all? Or is it just like this sort of weird kind of cultural shift for people think that old things like beautiful old houses don't look good anymore?
Yeah, I think there's two different factions here. One is the landlord component, which we can kind of table that for a second, because I understand the maintenance of that. But at the same time, these aren't rental homes in this particular street that we were on. These are like multi-million-dollar homes that you don't rent those out. Those are like families, people buy
family, like
houses.
Generational, right? Like, you grew up in them and still live there.
Yeah, but I think they're more like new people are coming in and tearing them apart. That's on that front, and I blame I don't know, I blame internet culture for like making everything sleek and modern, and in my opinion worse. But as far as like the landlord stuff goes, I wonder a lot of times, anytime politicians do something bad, I look to the voters. I'm like, well, you guys elected these people. And in some respects, I understand when you're, when you're renting and you want to like get the most affordable thing, that I totally get that. And I wonder if the acceptability rate or if the acceptability threshold was lifted by tenants to go, nah, I don't want this. This is awful. And maybe that would improve how landlords take care of properties. Now, the problem inherently with that is, okay, well, all of the subsidies don't care about that sort of thing, especially if you live in like a Section 8 type housing. People just let their Section 8 housing just go to crap. And that lowers the bar, right? Like, so if the threshold is somewhere like up here because there is no government subsidies and it's solely dependent on the tenant who wants to pay a reasonable rent or even a premium to live in a nicer place, like that like boosts the threshold. But when you have Section 8 housing, who landlords 100% of the time get 100% of their money by the government, doesn't matter what the upkeep is like, I think that drags everything down. And so like I understand the point of like, yeah, it's maintenance and it's just easier to do it this way. But that doesn't mean I like it. I still kind of hate it in a lot of different ways. But I don't know. Would you, given the opportunity, would you move to a place that was a little bit more kept up? Let's just say it's even like a 70s, like more of like a mid-century modern type style and vibe. I don't know. Given the opportunity, is that something that you would look for?
I mean, I've never owned a home, and I would love to someday. But in California, it's there's unique challenges.
50-year mortgage, Glenn. You could be basically 3 or 2 when that gets paid off.
But I've seen these houses. You drive through neighborhoods on your way to some place, and you're like, wow, these old houses. I think old houses look beautiful. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think that when they're kept up, you sort of have something unique. And I would love to live in an old place that looks like a pristine version of that era, but I would also insist that it has all of the modern amenities inside. So for instance, older places typically don't have the wiring unless they've been upgraded. So I would want the upgraded version to say, like, I have all this electrical stuff people back then didn't need to worry about powering, like an air conditioner.
I think we're talking
as
about...
long as it's upkept, like, as far as like electrical, plumbing, safety, blah blah blah. Yeah, make it look like it did on day one for them. And
I was gonna say,
that would be great.
I think we're talking about different things here. Like, yeah, if you have knob and tube wiring in your 100-year-old house, go ahead and update that. I don't particularly care about that. Maybe go ahead and update your electrical panel. One, because it's too code and it's going to be a fire hazard. But 2, yeah, that's fine. Mostly talking about like the cosmetic features, especially like the functional cosmetics. Like, and what I mean by that is like there's some like areas that have facades that kind of make something look a way that it was built that way, but it's not actually. Like those, if you go to Home Depot, there's like these brick panels that you can just like plaster on your walls. I think that's somewhere in the middle. Like, I think that's definitely not as cool as like the original, like this is made of brick, so we can't remove it. We can just go over it. Going over it is the lowest form of humanity. That you deserve Alcatraz at the very least. And I know Alcatraz isn't open. I say you just ship people there and then no more visitors and just strand them on that. That's if you cover up like brick or exposed wood there without really any functional purpose, just aesthetically, the highest penalty. Then you've got like okay, I'm going to build this like thing that looks old, but it isn't actually really. And then on top of that, that's obviously the highest level is maintaining the original structural integrity of the building. But anyways, to your point, yeah, I think people should have plumbing. That is not my, that is not the crusade that I'm on right now. But
I go straight to like, how would this work? Like, what are the details? And you're just thinking like big picture, which I totally agree. I think we agree on that point. The cosmetics, it looked good back then. They put work, they put effort into it. They had like crafts, like artsmanship, and
well, and that's with everything. That's with everything nowadays. Like it's with like cars. It's with like everything used to have some sort of craftsmanship. And one of the things that I think conservatives get knocked on routinely is trying to do everything in a streamlined, the most efficient way possible is the best. And while I agree with that, you can't sacrifice quality for quantity and streamlining. I would much more happily buy a product from somebody who has spent 10, 20 years honing their craft because I know that it's good. I'm not even necessarily looking for like the cheapest thing, but you've talked, you're like a key proponent of that. Like I'd rather buy something that's good as opposed to like some cheap Chinese crap that'll just break the first second you use it. And yeah. I don't know. It's in that line of thinking that I have this aversion to the modernizing of kind of more traditional homes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So anyways, my frustration endures with those types of freaking criminals. I was going to call them people, but they're criminals who ruin nice looking things for the sake of convenience or the Instagram, I live in a modern home. No, go build a modern home, you noob. Wow, what a tangent that was. This has been One Last Point. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless America.